In the high-stakes world of AI, things are always moving fast. But every once in a while, something comes along that isn't just another update. It's a potential earthquake for the entire industry. An open-source model has just shown up that isn't just trying to play catch-up, it's actually aiming for the crown. Let's find out how.
So, to really get why this is such a huge deal, we first need to take a look at the current landscape. For a while now, a pretty big divide has been growing in the AI world, basically splitting the whole field in two. On one side, you've got the proprietary, closed-source giants. Yeah, think of them like these secretive Formula One teams with massive budgets and engine designs nobody else gets to see, and they're just accelerating like crazy. On the other side, you've got the open-source community. Totally brilliant, super collaborative, but often struggling to keep up. And that performance gap you see here, well, it's just been getting wider and wider.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. Researchers have been pointing this out directly. This quote really nails the central problem. The best AI has been getting better and faster, all behind closed doors. And that was leaving the rest of the world further and further behind. Until, maybe, now.
Okay, so this is where the story gets really interesting. Because out of that open source community comes a brand new challenger, one that was designed specifically to take on this widening gap and maybe completely change the rules of the race. So let's meet DeepSeek v3.2. Its mission is super ambitious: to bring together two things that are usually pretty tough to combine: elite-level reasoning and really high efficiency. In other words, the goal is to be just as smart as the top models, but without costing a fortune to run. So how in the world does it pull this off? Well, it's not just one thing. It really comes down to a combination of three major technological breakthroughs that give it a serious competitive edge. Let's break them down. Okay, so these are the secret weapons, something called DeepSeek Sparse Attention, then Scalable Reinforcement Learning, and finally, Large-Scale Agentic Task Synthesis. Let's dive into what each of these actually means. All right, first up is DSA. Imagine trying to find one piece of information in a massive library. Instead of reading every single book, a genius researcher would just know exactly which paragraphs on which pages to read. That's basically what DSA does. It lets the AI focus only on the most critical information in huge amounts of text, which makes it incredibly fast and efficient. Next up is how this thing actually trains. Seriously, think of it like an Olympic training regimen, but for an AI. They dedicated a huge amount of the training budget. We're talking over 10% just to this reinforcement learning phase. So it's not just learning facts, it's practicing, it's failing, and it's mastering complex problem-solving skills, just like an athlete training for a gold medal. And finally, it's not just about being smart, right? The AI has to be able to do stuff. This is where the agentic training comes in. It turns the model into an agent that can use tools to solve problems. They put it through this massive simulation, over 85,000 complex tasks, where it learned how to use digital tools to get things done. It's kind of like a pilot in a flight simulator, mastering how to handle any situation that gets thrown at them.
And this diagram right here, it shows you exactly what that looks like in action. See those blue thinking boxes? Before the AI actually does something, like using a tool to search the web or run some code, it literally pauses to think and plan out its strategy. This kind of internal monologue, this step-by-step reasoning, is what lets it tackle these complex, multi-step problems that would totally stump other models.
So that's the tech. It sounds pretty impressive, right? But the real test is, how does it stack up against the reigning champions? This is where it gets really exciting. So yeah, the big question on everyone's mind is, does all this cool innovation actually translate into top-tier performance? Can an open-source model finally stand on the same stage as the giants? Well, the answer is a huge yes. Just look at these scores on the AMIE math benchmark, which is a notoriously difficult test of mathematical reasoning. DeepSeek v3.2 is scoring a 93.1. That puts it neck and neck with GPT-5 at 94.6 and Gemini 3.0 Pro at 95. It's not just playing in the same league, it's right there fighting for the top spot. But here's the kicker. It's not just about the raw power, it's about the efficiency. What these charts are showing you is basically the cost to run the model. And that blue line representing DeepSeek v3.2, it's way lower than its predecessor, especially as you process more and more text. So the really crucial point is, you're getting top-tier performance at a fraction of the cost. But the story doesn't even end there. The researchers wanted to see what would happen if they just pushed this thing to its absolute limit. So they created a special version to see just how far it could go. They called it DeepSeek v3.2 Special. You can think of this as the supercharged, the experimental version of the model, trained with even more intensity on the absolute hardest reasoning tasks out there.
And the results are just mind-blowing. This shows its performance in some of the most prestigious academic competitions in the world, competitions for humans. I mean, we're talking about a gold medal performance in the International Math Olympiad, gold in the Informatics Olympiad, and what's basically a gold medal in the ICPC World Finals for coding. This isn't just good for an AI, this is world-class top-tier performance, full stop.
So what does all of this mean for the future of AI? This is bigger than just one new model. This is about a fundamental shift in the entire landscape.
Okay, so the big takeaway here is this. That performance gap we talked about, it's finally closing. Elite, world-class AI capabilities are becoming more accessible and more affordable for everybody, for researchers, for startups, for developers all over the world. This could really unleash a whole new wave of innovation, creating more competition and new kinds of AI-powered businesses that we haven't even dreamed up yet.
And that leaves us with this one, really fascinating final thought. For the first time, that gap between open and closed AI isn't getting wider, it's shrinking. So we really have to ask, what happens to our world when everyone, not just a handful of tech giants, has access to gold medal thinking? What will we build? What problems will we solve? The race is on.